Hello and welcome back to the Quarry garden, and this video is all about making a Christmas display outside of the front of the house. Now, I don't have one of those lovely verandas or porches that you see on all of the Canadian and American videos, YouTube videos. I do have a step and I have quite a big area, so I'm going to decorate what I've got with these free pieces of hedging. Now, you'll have seen earlier in the video where I was gathering all of these liandi hedging. Some of them look like trees. I wouldn't say they're hedge cutting. Some of them are as big as me. And I've added them to the front of the house just to mimic a Christmas tree. And they last for months and months. Liandi, once it's cut, it certainly doesn't die back quickly. It's one of those things that you wouldn't want to add to your compost pile because it takes too long to compost. I do compost these separately. But I decided to make bundles out of what's left of all of these cuttings, and I have an awful lot of them, and I'm just putting together 5 pieces just like that, wiring them together, and I'm going to add them to the garland that I've added up above the front door. It's one of those garlands that you buy from, there's 2 actually, that you buy from your local DIY store, your local garden centre. And it's very much like a tinsel garden. It's very cheap, but it can be quite effective, certainly if you add things to it. So all I'm using is this paddle wire or florist wire, whichever you call it. And I'm just going to wire about 5 pieces together, leaving quite long ends on them. So just wire it round. I'm just going to twist it together. And then I'm going to wire it into the garland. So that's what I'm in the middle of doing. After this, I will make some pots up, and I've decorated a lantern, which I'll show you, an outdoor lantern, to go onto one of these pots. So I'll show you that too, and I'll show you how I actually made it. So that's it. So I'm going to add these into that garland just to make it look a little bit prettier. So what I'll do is add them, and I'll come back to you because this is the boring stage, and you certainly don't want to sit and watch me twist and wire around hedge cuttings. So give me a few minutes and I'll show you what it looks like. So if you try this at home, can I suggest you do this on the ground, other than when you've fixed it up here. because it's a little bit more difficult. And the second thing is, which is making it so much easier, these garlands, these very cheap garlands, they've all got wire in each of the tiny little fronds or branches, and I'm using those to tie them on rather than the paddle wire or the florist wire, whichever you call it, and I'm finding that more effective. So it's taken shape. I've tried to make a feature around the outside lamp, and I'm going to add a bow or something pretty around there, but I'm nearly there. So I was gathering all of the cuttings from shrubs that I cut back at the end of autumn and trees to make a pot, and I come across this particular shrub cutting. I don't know what it is. It was in the garden when I moved here. It looks very much like eucalyptus, but it's not. So I thought, right, they'll look really good wired into the garland. It'll give that bit of airiness to it. But when I got up on the ladder and started to wire them in, I by accident turned it over, and I noticed how lovely the leaves are on the back, very much white silvers. So I've turned them around and I've added them that way, and it just gives a lot of brightness to the garland, which was very green at this point. I may add some red berries, but we'll see how things turn out when I build the pot and decorate the rest of the areas around here. So the next job is to create a Christmas pot for outside the front door, or it's sometimes known as a porch pot. Now this is something that's very popular in Canada and America, and that's where I've actually picked it up from, because over there they do fabulous arrangements with greens that mostly they buy. Some people use them from their own garden. If you're lucky enough like me to have a lot of mature shrubs, you can actually make one of these without having to buy anything, and that's obviously the aim, really, to try and do it for nothing. So I've got a black pot filled with garden soil, and I'm just adding, mainly to start with, these liandi hedge cuttings as a centre piece in the middle. Now you can buy greens. I know there's a few places online where you can order them, but they tend to be very expensive. That's the only thing. So I think that's possibly why it hasn't caught on here in the UK. If you're lucky like me, all of this material you've got to hand, then you don't need to purchase anything. So I think that's probably it. So that's the centerpiece. And now I'm going to add a different type of green around the perimeter. That's the porch pot, Christmas pot complete. I think it looks really pretty. I can't understand why more people don't do these pots here in the UK. This will last, it did last year till about the end of February. In fact, I got bored with it before it died back. I've also added a few fern leaves at the back. This is an evergreen fern that I've got. The fern was flattened down about a week and a half ago from all the snow that we had. So I've cut those back, but now is the time to add something, a little bit of colour in the front. So I'm going to add these pine cones. I'm just going to push them in. Now, Mr. Quarry Gardener has drilled a hole through the bottom, and we've added these stakes, and I've glued them in, and I can still smell the glue. It hasn't quite dried yet, so I'll have to be careful they don't come off the sticks. And I'm just going to put them in a little display like that. Hopefully that looks good because you can see it better than me. And next I'm going to add a few branches. Now these are branches that I had off last year that I painted it for the white garden. I'm just going to add just a few to give it a little bit of colour to go with the white on the house. So I'll add a couple of those either side. And last but not least, I've got a couple of three-legged deer. These are just wooden wicker deers that I've had for many, many years. I'm just going to place them in like that. Will I add two? We'll give it a go. We'll see what it looks like. Yeah, that's complete. Now I'm going to add some pine cones to the garland above the door. So outside the front door, I've added a Christmas lantern, and I just thought it might be of interest to you to see how I actually did that. It's one of those basic lanterns that you buy from your garden centre, your local DIY store. It's not an expensive piece because obviously it spends a lot of time outside. But this year I just thought I'd add a few bits of greenery to it and an ornament or two just to make it look a little bit more glamorous. Because outside the front of the house, it's mainly all liandi. So I've got some greens that I cut earlier, a couple of branches off the Christmas tree that we've got. And I'm going to make a swag for the side. So I'm just going to wire together probably about 5 pieces just to make it look effective. And the wire that I'm using is regular garden wire, not floral wire, because it's quite thick. And I think the floral wire wouldn't hold it as much because the branches are quite thick. So I'm just taking this thick wire and wrapping it around 3 or 4 times and tying it off at the back. Pulling it really tight and then just twisting it so it stays in place. Quite like that. So I'm going to add that to the side. But first I'm going to add something to the top. So the next thing I'm going to do is add something to the top of the lantern. And I've chosen to add this deer, just to keep in with the woodland theme that I've got. I don't know if you can hear, but I can hear the cows in the field obviously getting herded into the barn. So if you hear any strange noises, I can hear them mowing in the field. Anyhow, back to this. Taking some garden wire and I'm literally threading it through the top of the lantern. The lantern has 2 openings, front and back. So I'm threading through this garden wire so I can wrap it round the deer. Just like that. I can still hear them. I could face the deer forwards. I'm actually putting them to one side because that's the way I did it earlier. I'm just going to take the wire and wrap it round very tightly and feed it back down through here. Pull it back through. And I'm going to do that several times. Just twisting the wire. I've looped it over about half a dozen times, so that's nice and secure now. That's not going anywhere. Next thing is to add the swag. And I'm going to add it to the side. And I'm going to use the wire that I've attached the deer with to the lantern, and I'm going to thread the swag wire through there and to pull it up till it's right at the top, like that. And I'm just going to twist it off. And I'll not cut any of the ends until I've finished, making sure it's nice and tight so it doesn't go anywhere. That's why I like using this garden wire. You get more of a good hold with it. That's the swag. Next thing, I'm going to add some pine cones. Now using the floral wire through the top, the open section of the acorns or pine cones, I've wired those together, 3 of them. I'm just going to add them to the top of the swag. Again, feeding it through the wire on the deer that I started off with and twisting it so it doesn't come off. So next thing I'm going to add is a bit of decoration, and that is some bells. I'm just going to put them through the middle of the swag. Oh yes, that's nice and tight. That's not going anywhere. Doesn't even need wiring in that. Right through the middle. Okay, I'm next going to cut the wires. Any wire that was left loose at the back. And also add some greens just to hide the wire. That's gone over the back of the deer. So I'm just going to thread some greens through. Mainly liandi cuttings, and it'll just look like the swag's being extended. I'm just going to feed them through the wire. And last but not least, inside, I'll remove the wire now because I don't need it any longer. Just cut those ends off. Take them out. I'm going to add some lights to the bottom and some pine cones. So these are just wire lights that I've had for a long time. I'm just going to place them in there, switch them on first. These are just lights that are on a timer. Just going to feed them in. It's caught on the flower. Caught on the pot underneath there. It's going to feed them in there like that. And add some pine cones to the inside. And then that will hide the charging point, or the battery pack I should say. Just like that. You could put baubles in if you wanted to. I'm just adding pine cones because I'm trying to keep to a natural woodland effect for this year. And that is basically it for the top part. Just need now to construct the container that it's going to sit on. So I've got the finished lantern here at my feet, and I'm going to create this pot for it to stand in or stand on. I've added a bit of height. Got 2 bricks in here. It's actually sitting on old compost that I haven't removed once the bedding came out of it, or the autumn flowers came out of it. I've added a concrete base. It's just an old paving slab, or part of a paving slab. What I'm going to add next is one of those very cheap tinsel wreaths, and this will just be used as a base to attach greens, and as in the rest of the woodland display, the greens are liandi hedging cuttings. So I'm just going to place that there. I'm going to add the lovely lantern that we made. This is the only fiddly bit that you'll have. Just getting it into position so it's standing nice and secure on that base. And then I'm just going to fill it in all around with greens. Now I'm not going to wire them in. I'm just going to press them down into the soil that's already in the pot. Now this may take a while, so I'll do a few and I'll come back to you and show you what it looks like at the end. So that's the second pot complete, and the only thing that's cost me money are these 2 bells that I bought for either one of them, and they weren't very much. Just, I think it was a couple of pounds each, not a great deal of money at all. So I've got another couple of projects to do before I've finished. So let's move on to the next one. drying everything off that I've added to this bench. It's full of dried flowers. Liandai, of course, because everything's liandai this year. Dried astilbe flowers and dried hydrangea flowers. I just thought I'd make a feature of the bench instead of it just sitting there blank, because obviously it's not somewhere we can use this time of year. It's not under a cover or anything, so I can't put any nice outdoor cushions or throws on it. But that's it for today. We've got a major storm heading our way, Storm Dara. Make sure everything's tied down because we're expecting winds of 80 to 90 miles per hour. Whether any of this survives, you'll see the next time, because that's when I'll do a tour of everything I've done today. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.